today, buckle up your seats because we have a returning guest speaker, Victor Vonico Johnson. Now, Victor is an investor. He's a motivational speaker. He's an author. He is a maximized man living his maximized manhood. And we want to share his perspective this morning on decisiveness. So are you there, Mr. Victor?
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Mack. Reggie Tyner, man, I'm always electrified by your prayer, man. It really just lights me up, and I'm sure the men that are listening and are tuned in here this morning are feeling the same way that I do. Thank you for the invite, gentlemen. Again, my name is Victor Vonico Johnson. Y'all can call me Vic. And I do want to speak on decisiveness. And listen, I'm not an ordained minister. I don't have a church of my own that I preach at or anything, and that'll be very apparent as we go along. But I am going to be speaking about decisiveness from the lens of an entrepreneur, from the lens of, again, a gentleman in real estate, a father, I'm a husband, I'm a son and mentor, community leader. And I was listening the other day when Benny eloquently was going through the four values that you guys just mentioned. You mentioned that the four values are maturity, decisiveness, consistency, and strength. My God, those are definite characteristics. If you see a man walking with those four characteristics on his chest, you better step out his way. He is a man on mission for sure. And what Benny broke down was that decisiveness. He actually gave the definition. So I'm going to repeat that for those listening. The ability to make clear-cut and timely decisions with the appropriate amount of information. Again, the ability to make clear-cut and timely decisions with the appropriate amount of information. I also saw a definition of decisiveness listed as the characteristic or practice, the practice of deciding or acting without hesitation. So, for you to be a person who can act without hesitation, you need to build yourself up pretty well. And I was thinking about some other words that might remind me of what really is decisiveness. It will be words like assertiveness, being confident, firmness, and having willpower in the things that you do. And it's not easy. Oftentimes our decisions are influenced by those around us. They're not even of ourselves. We're so much impacted by the things that we consume and take in that we don't even know half the time if the decision we're making is of our true, authentic self. And so that's one thing that I want to discuss with this group today are some things that I have found in my entrepreneurial walk, and before even being an entrepreneur as a business leader in the corporate world, some things that had to change within me to make me more assertive about the decisions that I make, to make me more confident in my walk. And so I'm going to share some things with you all today that I feel will help us to be more decisive, because as a decisive man, you are assertive. You're showing your family that I can make decisions on our behalf that are going to be in our best interest, that are going to be protective of our future, our legacy, things that will not put you in harm's way. And so as a leader, as a man of your household, as a man in your business, I think these are key tenets. And again, these are through the lens of a 48-year-old Black man. I'm an entrepreneur, business owner. And so think about your own personal self. Again, we want your decision-making to come from an authentic place, a place of yourself. But if I can just share a few things that'll help you, these would be the three things that I would share, the three bullets, if you will, to raise my level of decisiveness, being more assertive. So number one will be establishing my standards. We can't do anything without standards, gentlemen. And what are standards, right? Standards are those things that your rules, the principles that you live by, the basis of all of your judgment. And again, for you to be in a position where you're confident in the decisions that you make, you need to have some kind of level of standard, something that you will not accept in your life, some level where it says, no, that's just taking it too far. I'm not willing to do that for that decision, or I'm not willing to go there on behalf of my family or myself. Again, I'm 48, there was a time in my much younger version of Victor Johnson where I married this young lady, and I was married a very short period of time, maybe 6 months. And I had lowered my standards. I didn't even have standards probably now that I look back at it. But this was a pretty woman. I was right at the age of 30 years old. I was kind of messing around with a few different ladies at the time. And my sister had come into town and was looking around. I was like, man, when are you going to settle down, Victor? You know, this is my older sister talking at me. And, you know, again, at that age of 30, there's probably a man or two out there listening that's in that age range. And he's like, yeah, man, everybody's pressuring me to get married. And that's how I felt at that time. In my career, I was doing well. I already had, you know, kids, but I wasn't married. And so I felt the pressure that the family was saying, hey, you need to get it together. And so my sister comes in town and she says, hey, when are you gonna get married? And it sat on me. And I literally decided, okay, well, I'm messing with these three ladies. Which one of these three would be the best one? I'm gonna marry her. She's the prettiest one, this and that. She'll make me look good. The worst decision I ever made in my life. She had drug issues that I thought that I could overcome, that I could make her overcome. There were things about her that she was just lazy and things like that. And I didn't have standards. And it took me down the path for a couple of years, even though I was only married that year, or not even quite a year. It took me down a path that I didn't want to be. And there's people out there now, again, listening that are connected to people or things that are taking them down the wrong path, and it's impacting your decisiveness, your ability to make decisions. You got the wrong folks around you and your standards are low. So it's important that I would say to establish some baseline of what your standards are going to be in your life. What are your beliefs about who you are and what you believe in? And not only that, once you state those things, you got to live it. You got to walk that walk and actually be about what you say your standards are about. And that becomes the hardest part for us, especially as men. A lot of times we are in positions where we need to make a decision, but again, we're impacted about what maybe our father might say or another man in our life might feel about us, or they're gonna see us as weak if we do it this way. But again, you gotta be true to yourself when it comes to making decisions. So the number one thing that I would say to raise your level of decisiveness would be to establish a standard for your life. Number two, so for me, again, one of the second things that I've done is fed my mind with positive content. So there was a time in my life where I would get up every morning and watch headline news. Oh my God, it was like I had to turn on the TV within 5 minutes of waking up just to see what was going on in the world. And of course, 9 out of 10 stories are not gonna feed my soul the way that I need my soul to be fed, especially at 7 o'clock in the morning. Nowhere near what a national men's call will feed you in on a Tuesday or a Thursday morning. And so it's important that I changed the content that I was consuming in the morning. You know, so now things that I do is I have some positive self-talk. I'm looking in the mirror at my eyes, gentlemen. An exercise that I think we all should do that we may not do as often as we probably should is get up in the morning, look yourself right in the eyes in the mirror and just say, you know what? I love you. I love you. It's harder than it sounds. And there's people out there that probably haven't done it in decades. Get up and tell yourself how much you love yourself. Self-talk to yourself. Read positive books, read the Bible. Get around people that can feed into you. I'm so blessed and fortunate to be I'm a board member for what's called a King's Accountability Group. This is a group of men from all across the nation, and actually a couple maybe out of the country, that get together every Sunday morning for a call, and we feed into each other and hold each other accountable to our goals. You need that, gentlemen, in your life. Get around people that are gonna be honest with you about where you're going. Again, I'm an entrepreneur, so there's days and months where we have tremendous wins financially and in our business world. And then there's days where we look up, it's like, man, what happened this month? Where did it go? Why did the numbers turn out this way? What decision was made throughout the process of this particular deal that made things go awry? And trust me, it's happened. Even the most successful man has has had opportunities where failure has crept into their life. And those are the moments where you're really being tested. So I take my second bullet as feeding myself with positive content. You know, part of my morning routine is we get up right now. Right now, we're kind of in a unique state. My wife and I are doing a challenge called 75 Hard. And for those of you that are not familiar with this challenge, it's 2 45-minute workouts per day. One of them has to be outdoors. It's drinking a gallon of water, following a particular meal plan, taking a progress picture every day, and reading 1 page of personal development each and every day. We're on day 66 of 75, gentlemen. My discipline has been taken to an all new level. And I'll be honest with you, I never would have imagined being able to do something this consecutively in my life. And it's made me feel absolutely wonderful. And of course, the one thing in there is no alcohol during this entire time. So my clarity is at a heightened state. And I would encourage all of you again to find some challenge, some way to feed something positive into your life, whether it's a challenge, the books that you're reading, the things you're listening to, or the people that you're surrounding yourselves with. So that would be number 2. Feed yourself with positive content. That has a direct impact on your decision making because it's making you a person that has a consistency about yourself that's all about positiveness. It's all about helping others. It's all about being right as far as walking the right path. Not perfection, but just being on the right path. And you can be more confident in your decisions when you make your entire mindset that everything that you're about solid with those solid standards, and also feeding yourself consistently with positive information. Number 3, and this one is really where the rubber meets the road for me, is developing daily habits to create my future self. That's my mantra, create your future self. And that means that you have to have a vision about where you're going, who you want to become. And again, that has a direct impact on the way you make decisions. Because the way that our subconscious mind works, gentlemen, is that once you put a solid idea out there or some goal that you want to pursue, God and the universe and the law of attraction starts moving things out of your way that are obstacles for you. Or even better, they put things in your way that strengthen you to make you the better person so that you can receive those blessings, those goals that you've worked so hard to achieve. So it becomes an important process to create a daily habit around the person that you want to become, around the family that you want to build, around the legacy that you want to develop. And again, every decision that you make, that you're encountered with, is going to start to come through the lens of this person that you're becoming, this positive-minded, standard-having, future-focused person that you're becoming. And it's important that you take a look back. One of the things that Benny had mentioned the other day is to reanalyze the decision once it's been made, and being able to look back and, okay, every decision is not the right one, but what have I done in that process that I can grow from? You know, my favorite athlete of all times, Kobe Bryant, Mamba mentality. If I didn't have this virtual screen up, you see behind me, the Mamba mentality, a constant quest to be the best version of oneself. I live by that. And it's so important to me that when I make a misstep or I make a bad decision, that I can have humility. And I think this year I learned humility more than anything. You know, I've had so many blessings in my real estate life and successes that it took for me to have one that didn't go so great this year to kind of open my eyes that, hey, let's get back to the basics. What are the steps that I missed? Where did I go wrong in something? Who was brought on in the team? Did I put them in the best position to be successful? I'm talking to somebody out there that's running a business out there and you want to do it all yourself. How are you putting your team members in positions to make good decisions? Because their decisions have an impact on your business, which has an impact on you. Look at your household. What are you feeding into the people in your household to put them in position to make great decisions? or to at least make prudent decisions. Prudent being logical, things that make sense. And a lot of times, again, if you can follow these 3 tenets of having some standards, feeding yourself with the positive content, creating daily habits around the person that you want to become, then what you start to do is, again, you start to magnetize that person. And so your decisions, you can trust your instinct, you can trust your gut. How many of us out there really can't trust our decisions because we're, again, not being authentic to ourselves? And I'll give you a bonus. And I'm not a certified personality assessor, but I know quite a bit about it, enough to be dangerous. And I have some friends that are certified and licensed to give what's called a DISC assessment, which is a personality assessment. And I think every single person listening should take a DISC assessment because it tells you a lot about the person that you are, how you make decisions. I took my DISC assessment, and so the D is, are you a decisive person? And it turns out that I'm a super high D. I make decisions like that. It's not always a great thing, because a person on the opposite end of the spectrum is the C. They're cautious, they're systematic. They like things to be kind of broken down. They need to fully understand things to be able to make a decision. In the middle is I, that having that interpersonal, being very engaging, the outspoken person, like a Johnny Mac. He's probably a high I. He likes to get the crowd going. He steps into the room and it lights up, right? And then there's S, the stable person. Again, they're just gonna kind of chug along and do things very systematic. And it's gonna be hard for them to change from that. So I think it's important that we all understand our personality types, because that has a direct impact on how we make decisions and when we make decisions. So as I bring this to a close, again, I think that the more that we can become comfortable with who we are and ourselves, then we can be all good with being decisive, because we can trust that it comes from a positive place, it comes from a good place, a place that, you know, again, we're all here to serve, and I am a God-fearing man, even though I said I'm not an ordained minister. I probably preach a lot to the folks that I minister to, the young youth that I talk to in our Create Your Future Self program, or if I'm coaching an entrepreneur through my coaching program, or if I'm working with a contractor, or even tenants that I manage, you know, in my properties. It all comes down to projecting out a positive image and leaving people in a better place that they were in. So those 3 bullets again: number 1, establish a standard for yourself. Number 2, feed yourself with positive content. And number 3, develop daily habits that will allow you to create your future self. My name is Victor Vonico Johnson. You can visit me at victorvjohnson.com if you ever want to get some inspiration or follow Create Your Future Self, my YouTube channel. I love you guys. Dr. Mac, thank you so much. Benny, Reggie, thank you for the invite, gentlemen.